All right, so welcome to the sixth episode of Youthful Conversations. Today we are talking about education. We're talking about learning unlocked and strategies for educational success. We're getting it back into the mood of school starting. We got people going to college. We got kids going back into middle, high school, elementary school. Some kids getting ready to transition out of high school like me and Jonathan. We're getting ready to transition out of high school, start senior year. So today we want to make sure we're talking about education. So all the people who are gearing up and getting ready back into gear for school are prepared. So that way you guys can graduate and we can go to that next grade. So today, we got an amazing board full of people who know what they're talking about when it comes to education. And if it's not education, they have experience with the educational field. So we're going to go around the table, introduce ourselves, and then we'll get right into discussion. So can we go first, Mr. Marcus Brandon?
Yes, well, thank you for introducing me. I'm Marcus Brandon. I am, I serve many hats. I'm the board chair of a charter school called The Point, which is, and so I'm a founding board member. So we started off in the basement with about 60 kids. Now we have over 900 kids, 4 buildings, and Jeremiah is one of our great students that I'm going to make sure that I'm going to run him for office.
Yes.
And, also, I'm an executive director of Carolina Can, which is a organization that does the lobbying part of a lobby for education reform, particularly schools of choice, charter schools, private schools, homeschooling, and I try to create laws in environments where they can thrive. And I just started a new venture where I started my own private school.
Yeah.
So, concentrating on personalized education, and it's called the Mandala Academy. A mandala means power, and we are letting our students know that it is theirs. The power is theirs.
Yes.
I love that.
Amazing.
Oh my
That's
goodness.
amazing. So, Miss Anae, did I say that right?
Yes, you
Miss
did.
Anae Robinson.
Hello, everybody. My name is Anae Robinson. I am a second year PhD student at the North Carolina A&T State University. So I'm getting my doctorate in applied science, technology, and aspirations of developing my own STEM program. But it's been quite insightful. It's my second year in North Carolina. I'm originally from Oklahoma. Yeah. I got my bachelor's at Langston University in biology. And now I'm here today. So thank you all.
Of course, we're glad to have you. So now, Jonathan.
I'm a dual enrolled second year, getting ready to transfer. Just like we said earlier, I'm a brother, friend, and just on my journey. And somehow I found myself way here. So I'm way here. So happy to be here.
Of course, we're happy to have you. So now we're gonna dive into our very first questions. I know my questions are a little difficult, but I hear this all the time. My questions are a little difficult, but the goal is not so much to focus on the question, but to inspire conversation. That is the whole goal, to inspire conversation with young people, adults, and anybody else who would like to join the conversation. So now our first question: how can active learning techniques such as discussion and hands-on activities improve knowledge retention for students? So now I'll go first. I'll speak up first. The techniques and active learning techniques have truly helped me in education so much. Going from a kid who didn't really care about school, who was just like, okay with scraping by, mediocrity, was like, as long as I'm a C student and I pass, get to the next grade, I'm cool. I don't care. And I was passing with the C's. So when I started learning active learning techniques, so how to take notes while in class, that way I'll make sure I keep my attention on the teacher and what I need to be learning instead of getting distracted. How to study after class to make sure that it's effective, because sometimes when I study, I know for a lot of other people when we study, it goes in one ear, out the other, or we're just sitting there writing down a bunch of stuff and we're like, I'll remember. And it never worked for me. So I learned how to study outside of class. So there was like a bunch of different techniques. I forgot the names of them. But it's like some of them where you like write down in a notebook and you take like a 5-minute break.
Okay.
And then you start again.
I'm familiar with that one.
Yeah, so it's like I think it's called like the 5-minute break strategy. So like you take 5 minutes, you start doing notes for like, I think it's 10 to 15 minutes, 5-minute break, and then after that 5-minute break, you jump right back in. No exception, no like after that alarm goes back off, you jump right back into studying, and you do that for like an hour straight, and it helped me remember my notes so much better, and especially being a dual enrolled student. So I got to balance high school and college, so I got to make sure I'm studying all my stuff. So like one of those active learning techniques to make sure that I'm staying focused, I'm remaining focused on what I need to be learning, and that I make sure I'm the most important part. I make sure I was passing my
So
classes.
did you see a big difference in your retaining?
Yes. So a big difference from actively writing notes instead of just looking at a PowerPoint or a slide or a lecture that I was sent and then writing down everything that I thought was important to actually reading the whole lecture, the whole PowerPoint, and then being like, what will most likely be on the test? What most likely going to be on the test? What's most important? What's least important? And then writing that stuff down and then studying it for like the 10, 15 minutes, taking a break, going to do whatever I need to do, coming back. And then that helped me like remember it so much better because now it's like I'm not just trying to force myself into studying or I'm forcing myself for like an hour or 2 hours to remember information. But now I'm like, I got to get this done. Then I get a break. Then when I get my break, I'm back in.
Do you find that like when people write it down or they have segmented type of times that like if you can compartmentalize learning, which is kind of what I did, you know, I like it. Okay. Cause I had,
Yeah.
like, if I knew that I was only gonna have to do it for 7 minutes and I could compartmentalize that in my head, especially for a kid like me who had ADHD, and I was on it like 7 minutes was still a stretch.
Yeah.
But as long as I knew that I only had to do it for 7 minutes and I was
Right.
gonna get a break.
That helps.
It helps a
Yeah.
lot, you know. Yes.
I feel like when I like try to study for an hour, it don't work.
No.
But if I make it a condensed time, maybe 10 minutes, I'm like, okay, I'm all in. So
Yeah.
after that 10 minutes, I'm like, I got about 5 little minutes break, and I'm back at it. So
Yeah.
it helps you just kind of get into your focus mode immediately,
Yeah.
which is really the key.
So is there any active learning techniques? So you didn't mention this in your introduction, but you're on track to get a PhD.
Right.
So I know on track to getting a PhD,
Right.
becoming Dr. Robinson. I know there's so many different like strategies and different things you're doing to stay focused on that doctor track. So
I'm really keen on to like, how do I
Okay.
learn? Am I hands-on learner? Am I a visual learner? Or am I like an auditory learner?
got
I
you.
feel like I incorporated all three of those in some kind of way or form. So I will tell you one thing I really started doing recently. Like I'll take the PowerPoint and I'll upload it on Zoom. And I'll
Okay.
record myself on Zoom reading the PowerPoint to myself.
Got you.
That way I
Okay.
can have that recording to recall when it comes to that test, you know. So that really helps me out. I just feel like honestly a lot of kids are really just drawn from the traditional way of lecture, you know, doing a PowerPoint, sitting in class and just hearing someone tell the material and just
Yeah.
probably spit it back out in a standardized form. So I think incorporating these active learning techniques, like you said, will really help keep engagement for sure.
Yeah.
And I've seen improvement for my own self when I incorporate those methods. Another method I would use is, so we have this thing in grad school called chalk talk presentations.
Okay.
So within the chalk talk presentation, you take a whole article. You have to break it down from the abstract, introduction, materials and methods, results, discussion.
Okay.
conclusion.
Okay.
It'd be some heavy pages, but I learned to just write it out on my whiteboard first. If I can write out and see it, I can connect with it. And now
Yeah.
I can be more comfortable addressing that in the presentation itself.
Yeah.
But just it helps. I really recommend they move towards that direction rather than just letting kids be in the classroom because they want to be part of the learning experience.
Yeah.
They're not part of it when they're just sitting there hearing you tell the material. But they can be part of the discussion though and add their feedback and add their voice.
Yeah.
That'll make a big difference.
No, I feel that like in college, it was such a big jump from high school to college.
Yeah.
It's like now you're not going from have this paragraph ready for tomorrow
Right.
to now have this 5-page essay ready by tomorrow. Or it's not from read a chapter of a book to read this 30-page book and have it ready for tomorrow and be
Not
ready.
Chapter 1, but chapters 1 through 3.
Right. So now it's like a big complete jump.
Right.
So definitely I'm gonna steal that method, the chalk talk method, where it's now I write it out and see it. Yeah.
Right. I think writing it down is a big thing because I would always outline the chapter.
Okay.
And I would, and even if I knew it or not, right?
Yeah.
Like I would go outline and then I would fill in the outline. And that just because when you write it down, it goes to your brain.
Yeah.
You know, this is going to sound bad, but I remember how one time I did not study for a history test in high school,
Okay.
but I needed to get to the beach. So
Okay.
I said, okay, I decided that I was going to try and cheat my way through this test. But in the process of writing down the notes to put in my cheat notes that I was going to put in my sleeve, I actually learned it all. You know what I'm saying? And I
Okay.
didn't actually have to need it because I was like, oh yeah, you wrote that down, and everything I wrote down, I actually remembered.
Okay.
And so I didn't really have to cheat, even though I intended to cheat. When it's bad, we don't condone that. But but there was a spring break beach trip that I knew I was not going to go on if I did not pass that test.
Right.
I did make it. To
Thank
mission accomplished.
Okay. So, Jonathan, you got any active learning techniques that has helped you?
Well, honestly, if anything, I've been learning from y'all this already.
You're definitely
So,
gonna be stealing a few of these.
one thing I always knew from a young age, I was always able to just take in the notes, but at some point it started getting too much, so I had to really start taking all the time that I could, and I started something that I started doing, which I know a lot of kids do nowadays. We wait till the last minute, and then we start trying to take all the notes, and then when we start, oh
Yeah,
my gosh,
killer.
and that's one thing I had to start doing. I had to learn how to put my phone down because I started noticing I started making habits of it because I would put my phone down and then I start doing my work. And then after just 5 minutes, I'd see my phone get a notification. I'm already back on my phone. And 30 minutes passed. I'm like, wait, hold on. Why am I on
Yeah,
my phone?
this is a thing I did not have to deal with. We did not have notifications and phones. I am telling you that if that would have been the case, I'm not sure if I'll be still sitting here right now. I don't know if I would have made, because having ADHD, and I do worry about our kids,
Yes.
because like even now it's hard for my staff to keep me focused. My job is always, whenever we're in, staff meetings, like I'm always at my phone looking at other stuff, but I can imagine all those distractions, um, in the middle of class, and just
Right.
people could just always have access to you.
Yeah.
That's something that has transformed over in the last 20 years. We didn't always have smartphones. We didn't always have notifications
Yeah.
galore. Although I do think that, technology is like enhanced education.
Yes.
But like I also just really worry about kids like me. And which is why a lot of the cell phone issues that you see, people fighting, people like it's an addiction level that I've never seen. And I'm included, like I'm just not a student, but like
Yeah.
I'm addicted to I literally just had to throw it out just to make sure that I wasn't going to be disrespectful. And so like, and because I know I'm going to look at it, and
Yeah.
like people are going to text, and I cannot hear that ding, and I'm not going to look, like it's just automatic. It's almost like hypnosis. Ding,
Yeah.
look.
No, I get. That's why I tell people all the time. We got to go easier on our kids because we're in a completely like different thing. Like we're living a completely different world than we have ever seen before. Like COVID, technology. Like there's so many things that are there. Like there's so many things available to us, and we're like in the era of information. So it's so much out there for us to know, for us to explore, for us to experience. And if we all have it like in our phone, like in our face 24/7. Imagine what they're going through when they're in
You
school.
just remember this 20 years from now when AI has completely taken over and it's not a part of your life, as of right now, but it will be a part of those kids, because I have a hard time
Yeah.
as a school leader trying to convince people my age that these things are different. And even let's just take, for example, vaping, right? Now we expel kids for this, right?
Right.
And I am fervently against that, because like in our head, it's like, oh, it's vaping and it's bad, right? Like, but according, if you move it back 20 years, it's the same as a cigarette in the bathroom when we were in school. Nobody got suspended for smoking in the school bathroom. There are consequences, but expelled, suspended. Yes.
Oh yeah.
I've seen. Yes, it's
Yeah,
very
it's
intense.
spelled as-
But it's important for people to remember that this 20 years of technology, 20 years of things that are happening, that if you're not staying up with it as a school leader, and if you're not really looking at it from the lens of a student, that's where I think a lot of the miscommunications come from. They're thinking about it in a whole different way than we're thinking about it. We're like, hey man, it's weed. You know what I'm saying? And we just have like all of these things that go in our head. What vaping is really what it is. It's horrible. Don't get me wrong.
Right.
We don't want it, but at the end of the day, um, so it was just as bad for the baseball team doing chew tobacco, and those kids that got caught smoking in the bathroom. Yes, they had consequences, but nobody threw them out of the space for it, right? And so we got it.
Academic training.
Right.
Yeah.
So and I also just believe expulsion is violence,
Yeah.
and so it should be reserved for the most gravest of causes.
Right.
But we see these things happening, and not just in schools that I'm involved with, it just in school period. So I challenge you to remember this day that you just said that, and when and 20 years from now, some kid is all crazy on AI, and you're like, we didn't have AI.
No, I mean, I advocate for that because I'm like, we can't be so harsh on people. And like, if you didn't take the time to understand that what we go through and you're just looking at it from your one perspective, right? So it's like, you're never going to truly understand or learn from another person. And you're like, my way or the highway, especially when the world is changing so much. You got to be open-minded about all the different things and even the negative things. Like, sometimes you got to understand the negative stuff so that way you can move accordingly, because you ain't always going to be able to avoid all the negative stuff. So if you understand the negative stuff, you're able to move and navigate accordingly.
Why it's negative.
About the vape situation, I just wonder, are they like incorporating like maybe therapy to help these kids figure out if they got an addiction? You know, if there's an addiction, how can they really quit? It's like people smoking cigarettes.
I just think we do a bad job at it, period, in schools.
Yeah.
And talking about like we can help people up until it becomes a liability.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so the vaping thing can be a issue, and we do need to deal with that. But the liability is, what if they did put weed in it? What if they did give it to a student?
Mm-hmm.
What if they did have a bad reaction?
Right.
And now the school is responsible, right? So it's a very difficult fine line that you have to do when you're dealing with as a school leader. You have 900 kids, and you know a kid selling vape cartridges may or may not have weed in it. May or may just be, or it could just be tobacco, and they still could have an adverse reaction. So do you allow that student to continue to contaminate your school, or do you and hope that therapy gets better, or do you have an incident 2 weeks where the ambulance is called because someone overdosed on a weed cartridge because or an edible or something like that? So I get it. I understand why schools are very nervous about it, because insurance and people sue for no reason at all now. But at the end of the day, throwing people out of the space, to me, is still a harder pill to swallow. Right.
Yeah.
You know,
and then puts them in another place. Like, they might go to juvie. You know,
right.
That's the other option, it seems like.
Usually, when you suspend them, that is, if you start suspending kids or expelling kids, that is really, the chances of success goes down tremendously. So you're basically almost just like the police officers. Whenever you arrest a kid and you give them that record, you can pretty much guarantee, unless something miraculously happens and some kind of intervention takes place dramatically, you can pretty much expect that kid is going to be a part of your system for the better part of 20 years. And that is the same, and we see those same exact outcomes when we expel kids. And so that's why I say it should be reserved for the gravest of offenses, because the other thing is that I know that kid is going to go back to an environment or be in an environment where they're not going to be able to thrive. They're not going to be able to succeed. And so,
yeah. No, that's that's like a whole different, conversation. Like, that's something that could be a podcast on its own, like a whole episode on its own, because it's like there's so many things that dive into a conversation like that.
I think you should have that conversation, honestly, on another conversation. Talk about what the space looks like. How do you keep your safe space?
Yeah.
And still be able to protect, kids that and not get thrown out.
Definitely.
I think your voice on that is bigger than y'all think it is.
So how to maintain a safe space for the students? How to maintain a safe space for a student? I'm trying to think of a little title that could be interesting. Yeah, how to maintain a safe space for students to learn
and thrive.
Okay. I'm gonna have something out. Y'all gonna be seeing that soon. Y'all gonna be seeing that soon.
I appreciate the doctor over here because she is because she because what she's doing in education is I think she'll agree that now what you guys have done the last 10, 15 years has transformed the educational space, right? This dual enrollment and things like that. And I think things are just being catered specifically around individual children. And that has been my goal my whole life is like to really stop focusing on all eighth graders, all 12th graders, and focus really on Jeremiah and what makes Jeremiah successful. And this is a part of that, right? And so we have a lot of six. Did you know 65% of the jobs that Jeremiah and his brother are going to encounter don't even exist, right? And so now you know this is about skills, right? And so this is why she does STEM because like about 80% of that 65% is going to fall into that category. But if you don't focus on kids as an individual, then you end up with these outcomes, right? Like if you end up with these outcomes where they're bored. We talked about this earlier in the first question. How do you maintain focus? How do you what are these techniques? But I love the question because it ends up going around the same thing as I talk about. Like how do you do what what works for me might not work for you.
Right.
But we do need to have space to figure out what works for individual kids. So I applaud the STEM work, when you say you want your own program,
Yes.
and I would love to hear about because I have my own program in
I would love to
entrepreneurship.
work with you and
And so,
to
yes,
learn from
because
you.
and it's
Love it. Love
personalized,
it.
but like we have kids that really are just interested in your work. But so I would ask you, how would you maintain a safe space? And your program, if someone gave you $500,000 and said, "Here, start a school with 25 kids," how do you maintain a safe space, and how do you individualize that?
I will encourage mentorship. I feel like they just have
Oh,
somebody to pair you up with. That way you can
Yes.
have an idea of what your goals
mm,
may be and what your future goals may be.
Mhm.
And someone hold you accountable in that process. I was like, tell you, like, I've been there and done that. So this is how you can maneuver.
Yeah.
I think that would help with the leadership and help them keep their mind straight on what's important and what's not important.
Definitely.
That's one of the attractions as well, too.
No, I mean, I agree with everything said, but I still agree. Like, this is going to be a whole podcast on itself because, like, we dive so many topics. Like, I think one of the main topics that I like that you guys said is you lose track. If you have so many kids, you're focusing on the numbers instead of a student. So now every kid doesn't have a name, but more it's like numbers. So one, two, three, or however many instead of like
Banner out.
Jeremiah, Jonathan, Marcus, Anaya. So it's like so many things that can get lost when we're not focusing on the individual of the student and how we can best prepare them for their success. Because like you said, my path to success might not look the same as yours or yours or yours. So our paths are going to be very different. So if we're not tailoring to that one student and trying to mentor them and help them get to their goals and their dreams and their passions, how are we going to be able to best suit that kid? So let's hop into our.
I do got one last thing to say though.
Okay, go
Because I
ahead.
want to just go back real quick to what Nate was saying on like the lecturing part. Because one thing that I started doing while, especially when we were in high school, I actually just because I didn't really talk to much people in my class before, but now when all the teachers like it was just like when COVID hit, and now we are just online. So now I really had to talk to them if I want to get my stuff done. So I actually started having discussions with them and trying to get the work done with them. And I noticed that that helped me the most. And moving over to college, where a lot of the teachers I've had, they actually try to do discussions instead of just doing lectures. And that really does help the children out because one thing that I've noticed, like with teachers lecturing you, it's kind of like your parent trying to lecture you
Yes.
at home.
Yeah.
There's like this one time I was overseeing my dad, and we don't see him much, and so we were just trying to get as much time in as we could. I was making some food and I went to sit down for a moment. I got on my phone and I don't know, I just started scrolling. My dad,
Mhm.
he was walking past, he saw me, and then he told Jordan to come in the room, he tried to lecture something. And that's exactly how a lot of kids feel like when the teachers try to lecture them too. You could also pull it to like let's say unfortunately a kid's arguing with his parent, right? The What you're doing is they're first the parent is telling his son, you're supposed to just listen. Say yes sir, say yes ma'am, and then it's over, right? They're not there to listen to the kid. They're not, and if they do listen, they're only listening to respond, not to understand. And when they're talking to them, they're not talking to them they're just telling them, do I, as I say, they're not doing it to bring any common ground, see where they're at. But that's how they feel a lot when like the teachers are lecturing them. They feel like they're not involved in the conversation. They kind of feel isolated. Like they're pushing them back. So when you're having discussions with the kids, they feel more involved and they feel more engaged. And now it's not just they're talking at me; they're talking to me.
And that's the goal, to create engagement. I think, let me cut you off, but like,
No, you're good.
People learn better from their peers.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love peer-to-peer leadership. It's like some of the strongest forms of education. Like me doing mentoring work, you see such a change and shift from an adult mentoring a kid, from a little bit older kid mentoring a kid, and you like see the spark in their eye. They like, I can see myself doing. I can see the hope. I can see the spark. Right.
Because the 7th grader could see themselves as an 11th grader.
Definitely.
And they can see themselves as a 40-year-old.
Yeah.
Right. And the perspective of 40.
Definitely.
Right. And so that is why I always encourage peer-to-peer learning, because like it's like when I was when I also was an elected official. So when I got to the North Carolina House, I was a state rep. I was the youngest person. But to relate to people who were 60, 65, it was really hard. So it didn't matter if we were Republican or Democrat. The ages stayed together, right? Like because like it was just a different perspective.
Yeah.
And I took the mentorship from the 36-year-old, even though I was 32, and even though the person might have been, 60 years old and been in there for 20 years and do a lot of stuff, it was like automatic. I'm like, well, they've been here so long, you know what I'm saying? And I want something fresh and I want something new, and I want, like I appreciated their perspective, but it's not one that I was wanting to follow, because if I, that was the whole reason why I ran for office, and that was I wanted to change things, and I just viewed that as the same. Definitely. And so, I just think that's just a natural disposition, right? Like you're going to, like, after, if we all went and hang out, I'm sitting there and we're like, oh, well, Marcus can't go here with us because, what I'm saying, but like, and I'll be like, I don't really want to go there.
Yeah.
And so, but at the end of the day, I do believe that it is a great tactic to get young people and to be able to engage with young people. So
definitely.
Thank you for.
Of course, I would think. I think that adds on to the question: what is an active learning technique to keep kids engaged with retention? One of the most popular ones that I would think would be the most effective: peer-to-peer leadership. I agree. I think that would work. I think that's all. Yeah. So let's have it.
Continues on throughout life, by the way. And so
yes.
So it's good.
You never stop learning. So as long as we're working together, because one of the things I've learned as an entrepreneur is that no man is an island. So you're going to be constantly networking. You're going to be constantly working with different people from different walks of life, with different opinions, with different values, with different beliefs. How can we, aside from whatever we think or believe, how can we work together to get a common goal? And when you do peer-to-peer leadership, you see that a lot happen, because you'll see two different kids. One kid learns extremely effectively in the classroom. One kid is able to take what he learns in the classroom and apply it in a different way. So how can we get those two kids to work together to make sure they both find success in the classroom? So with that ending, let's get to our second question before we go off on, before we take all the time with our first question. So what role does technology play in enhancing educational outcomes, and which tools or apps have been the most impactful in your experience? I'll say for me, I know a lot of teachers are going to get mad at me for this. Photo math. Oh my God, I love photo math. Like, I can just sit there. I got a list, 30 questions of math problems. I sit there, pull out my phone, click, all 30 solved. I'm like, yes, that's the goal. Like, I know a whole bunch of teachers, a whole bunch of people are going to get so mad at me.
Yes.
But photo math is like, photo math is such
Send me the so I can make sure we
amazing.
block that.
It's such an amazing app.
I really guess I really was a nerd in the class.
Like
I
I'll sit there and click, all of them solved.
I was doing all the questions myself. I was wondering how everyone was getting it done so quickly.
Not
I ain't
me.
never hear that,
Not
man.
me.
So how did that help with your retention?
So the retention part, the thing about PhotoMath, it does a
Right,
really
right.
good job of teaching the problem to you. So there are ways as a kid you can take advantage of apps like that. So PhotoMath, you take a picture, solves all the problems, and then the next part to get the answer, you got to go through the steps on how to solve the problem. So it's not like just take a picture, get all the problems. It's take a picture,
So it's guided.
look at the steps, and then gives you the answers.
Oh, well, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So,
I thought it just
I loved it because there's a way to get around it. So when I was in a rush at like 12 o'clock at night and I knew I had school at 6 o'clock in the morning and math was my first class, I'll just take a picture, find a way around going through the steps. It just will get the answer, write the answer down. But if I had the time, when I have the time, I always take a picture, look at the steps to make sure I can retain the information because there's definitely some steps.
Okay, back to this is horrible.
Because there's like procrastination will get you. Like you'll be on your phone 5 minutes, an hour, 2 hours. And you're like, dang, it's 12 o'clock at night. I got school in the morning. I ain't did my homework. So I can attest to it. I've done it at too many times to count where I'll be on my phone scrolling, having fun, playing video games. And at 12 o'clock at night, somebody remind me or it'll pop in my head, I got homework to do. Math is the first class as soon as I walk in the building and my homework is not done. Let me figure it out.
It's definitely clicking a little earlier now. We in college. So.
Yeah. So in college, I can't do that as much because, they got letters and stuff in the math problems now. And it's getting longer and it's like too complicated for PhotoMath. So now, and then they also checking everything. So even if you upload the photo, they got AI where they can check it for plagiarism and if it's your work or not. So there's so many things they got in order for where you like literally cannot cheat. So
I wonder who made that.
PhotoMath is awesome. When you get off the podcast, just download it, check it out. It's awesome. I'm not saying use it, but I would say check it out because it's awesome.
The lobbyist in me is we're gonna block it.
Oh, it's awesome. I love it. I love it. But also, I will say another app that is also amazing is ChatGPT. But this is purely based on how you use it. So ChatGPT can give you answers or it can teach you stuff. And everything that you get from ChatGPT is purely based off you. So what you put into ChatGPT will give it right back. So if you give it a simple thing, it's going to give you a simple answer. So if you be like, hey, write me a list of 5 animals, it's going to give you a list of random 5 animals. But if you say, hey, give me a list of 5 farm animals who will provide me stability so that way I can make my own food and live my own life on a farm, it'll now list you 5 animals that will be able to give you a life that you can live on a farm. So chickens, cows, dogs, like different things that'll be able to help you build a sustainable life on a farm. So I would say ChatGPT is an amazing app, but purely based on how you use it.
I was gonna say, depending on what we're talking about.
Right.
Like there's this one app, Duolingo, not sponsored. Duolingo. So one of my friends, he uses it and he's actually learning Japanese on it because it's basically an online language teacher.
Yeah.
Basically.
I love
so yeah, and it can give you a
Come on.
And like it'll give you certain words and you can figure out what words they are. It's different processes. It can give you let's say for 5 seconds it'll give you a sentence and then you can figure out what the sentence is. It's different processes, but you're actively learning the language. So you're going to be able, not only are you going to know the words, you're also going to know what they're saying if they actually speak it to you in the real world. And then with ChatGPT, which I was going to bring that up too, is really depending on how you ask the questions. It can really just be your assistant, or you could end up being reliant on it. Right. Because there are ways you can ask it, because like you could just ask it just like let's say you try and make an essay, right? I've run into things like this. So like you wanted to get this essay done. You only got 10 minutes to get it done.
Why you got 10 minutes?
Procrastination will kill you.
Hold on, this,
I'm telling you, procrastination will kill you.
no, hold on. Vicariously, this ain't me. I'm gonna put no one's name out there though. So, but then you can ask the. I actually learned that you can literally make an entire list of directions, and it'll be longer than the essay itself. But you telling it exactly what to do, and it'll give you the entire essay. It even sounds like you. If you give it the right example, and then boom, you're done. But now you're reliant on it. So if your teacher can't even or your professor can't even help you because it's not even your work.
Yeah.
Right,
So
they can't track your progress.
exactly.
Mhm.
So it really does have it really depends on how you use it. And another thing to add too is that there really is only a limit to as much as it can do. Because let's say for like Duolingo, right?
Yeah.
It's teaching you the languages, but there are millions of ways you could say just one sentence. You're not going to be able to learn all of that just by using the app. You're going to actually have to talk to someone. So you're going to have to actually actively speak with someone. That's also the best way for you to actually hang on to the language and actually learn it and memorize it. So you're going to have to speak to someone. And then with ChatGPT, right? Oh yeah, I just talked about being reliant on it, and the teacher can't help you out. So now, when you're trying to do all the work, like let's say that's like me asking Jeremiah to do my entire essay. He does the whole thing for me, and then I just put my name on it. Now I can't learn nothing from that. I gotta actually, let's say instead I went to him and asked him for help. Now I can actually get the assistance I needed. And I'm actually learning from it. I'm making a discussion, and we're actually actively learning from it. So there are limits to it.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, I mean, I'm just going back to ChatGPT. It's like awesome. Like, personal assistant, reliant, second brain. There's so many different names with ChatGPT depending on who you ask. Like, I didn't ask somebody at GTCC, and they was like, "Yeah, it's like my second brain." When I don't know the answer, ChatGPT knows.
I love it.
So
That is their intention, is to have for um, intelligence, artificial intelligence to meet our intelligence. Right?
yeah,
But I will tell you, like at first I was against it, but then I can tell you it helped me. I was against it because I'm very not, but like mine didn't have anything to do with education. It had to do with my job. So a lot of it was. This is gonna sound crazy, but on Twitter, I have a lot of Twitter fights because it's political. I'm a political person.
Oh God.
And my boss was a little worried about, like, he did a Chat GPT just on like my Twitter page.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, it was like, Marcus is not nice. Not all of these horrible things they said about me, and it made me look at like how I responded to people.
Yeah.
Like it's confrontational. All of these just bad stuff.
can't get too into detail.
Yes, and he sent it to me like
Yeah.
just passively aggressive.
Yeah.
Sent it to me just like, oh, look what Chat GPT said about your Twitter page. And I was like, oh, so now I can use Chat, and I will write what I want to say, and then I'll run it by Chat GPT, and that's it. Much better.
Yep, I found that. Sometimes I be so mad at people, and like it's so easy just to send a mean text, but then I'm like, I got a reputation. ChatGPT, send the same message but make it nice and polite, so that way it gets the point across, but it's nice and polite. And I'm like, oh,
And
got my
I learned
answer.
that these words that I probably did on purpose.
You probably did on
I probably did it on purpose to create reaction, because the other part of my job is that I'm supposed to get more followers, right?
Yeah.
According to the grants, and you have to get more followers, you have to get all of these reactions and things like that. So I'm extra, but then but I'm also was probably going over the line when it was like, you're indoctrinated, or common sense will tell you things like that. Like it's like,
oh my goodness.
oh, yeah, I'm better. I'm way better.
I gotta see his page because that sounds pretty bad. I gotta see this page.
Way better now.
That's like the world's already cruel and mean as it is in the comment section. So at some point you just can't reply.
Yeah.
You can't respond to foolish people. You just can't.
Yeah.
I will say that people do come at me
See, so now he's like, you see, he's like, it's not me. I'm not starting every fight on Twitter. They're coming at me first, and then they just get what they get. But it's not me. I promise, I'm not fighting him.
Self-defense.
He's like, I'm not starting the fights. I'm just finishing them. I promise.
Bye-bye.
But there are positive sides of chicken. All of this.
Yes.
But, I do think that the first thing you said, I will actively try to block that, and then, because that soda meth is not going to work out. But so we have, as school leaders, we have to figure out what is going to enhance your learning.
Yes.
And not sabotage it.
I feel it.
And we're struggling because we know that you have it.
Yeah.
And we know that you're using it. Now we have got to figure out, like, how do we meet you there and say, okay, I know you have this chat GPT. I know you have this AI program. You will not have photo math in my school. But if you are using it, I think it is a lot of professional development needed.
Yeah.
This is new for a lot of us, and a lot of and look, I'm not even the oldest person in the game. A lot of people that are school leaders are older than I am, right? And so to think how I think it's a tremendous challenge when they're not. Most of them are not technology savvy anyway, right? And fear technology altogether. How do we not have a blanket response of that's bad and we're not dealing with it?
I would say do education on it. So
Yes.
educate the kids on how to use it in an effective way that's not sabotaging them. So don't be like, it's bad, I'm blocking you from using it. Because then they're just going to use it more. I'm telling you from experience. Like when a person comes to me and tell me, hey, you shouldn't be using ChatGPT because it's bad, it's going to make you fail, blah, 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 blah. I'm like, it's never made me fail. Never got in trouble with it. Doesn't seem bad to me. So I'm going to keep using it.
So, I'm gonna turn the table
So
around.
I would say educating it.
You're telling me that, but I want you to know, pretend you're a teacher. I want a lesson plan.
Yes.
Or on like, what would you think the outline would be for us to get educated on it? Like, it's one thing to say, go get educated.
Yeah.
Educated on what? And what would be your outcomes for us adults?
Yes.
To do
So there are multiple like certification programs and multiple online courses that teaches you like introduction to AI, advancement to AI. And there's so many things out there now where they're teaching you how to use it. Like I know Google has a course on it. Microsoft has a course on it. There's so many courses out there where you can
YouTube University.
YouTube University, like it tells you what to put into ChatGPT to get answers. There's Instagram Reels where people are like, I've made millions of dollars using ChatGPT with X amount of prompts. Like there's so many things out there where we can like just learn from it. And once you learn it, now you know what to tell your kids not to do. So I've learned you shouldn't ask ChatGPT to write your whole essay, because if you
Right.
ask it to write your whole essay, when you submit it to colleges, they know how to put it in an AI where it's like, this essay is 100% AI generated, no human content detected, and you'll get a 0. So I mean, I've done it before where I was like, 5 minutes left on an assignment. Let me get this essay in, and then I get back the next day and they're like, 100% AI generated content. I can't accept this. So teach.
So do you think us educators should be extremely harsh on AI generated and create examples?
I think we
and
shouldn't.
give Fs, or
I don't think you should be
Ls?
harsh on it. I think you should more like refocus it, like teach them how to use it. So that way it's like he said, it's not a crutch. So it's not like if I don't have it, I can't survive. So teach them how to use it. Teach them how to like use AI to teach you stuff so that way you can be successful using it. Like when I heard a person say it was a second brain to them, and when they don't know the answer, they go to GPT. I was like, okay, what do you mean by second brain? He was like, so when I want to learn something, I go to ChatGPT, I type what I want to learn in, and it spits out this whole lesson plan week by week, day by day, what I'm supposed to be doing in this hour and how I should learn this thing according to the lesson plan. And then by the end of the week or by the end of the time frame, I should be having this whole thing learned. And I was like, that's interesting. I've never thought to use ChatGPT
I've
like
always
that.
thought that the new generation of kids, first of all, I think we've had AI as long as we've had Google.
Yeah.
And which is basically kind of the same concept.
Yeah.
And if I don't know something, I just hit
Google.
the microphone and I ask it.
Yeah.
And then it tells me, exactly what it is. I mean, even if it's like I'm looking right now, I'm looking for some software, but I don't have to go to their demo or to their salesperson to figure out how much it costs. I could just say how much this costs,
Right.
and then it brings up like all the people was like, oh, we paid this much, we paid this much. So like I know, so before you come up with me with some kind of ridiculous proposal, I already know what you have already gave to other people, right?
Yeah.
And so, but everything I always tell my kids, everything's on Google. All you have to do is just say it. Don't ask me, say it, and then and you'll get the answer. So I think it's been around a long time, but I am very concerned about the in-depthness of what you can do. But I am very interested in kids letting us know, one, how do you protect your space because of learning?
Yes.
And how do we treat that? Like I said, because I believe expulsion is violence, but in college you will be expelled for these things.
Yeah.
So
Very
where is the consequence that you guys would suggest? And how do we take consequence and make it into teacher moments? And I think that's a conversation for another day too.
Yeah.
But it's something that you
Definitely.
have to lead, because there's a lot of conversations that youth need to lead.
Yeah.
That we're not, like, how am I going to lead a conversation on AI? How am I going to lead a conversation on the next, about how you're using it, right? Like youth need to have these conversations, and you need to protect your space, because if you don't protect your space, then guess what? Someone can take your job if they don't have to do the same work that you have to do.
Yeah.
You could be more knowledgeable,
But they got AI.
more prepared, but someone can go in AI and pretend that they are, and now that affects your life.
Yeah, and
And
take
so
your
how do you
job.
protect your space from?
Yeah.
So those are big questions that you guys.
Yeah. I think that's a whole nother discussion.
I feel like you have to use it to stay ahead, because everybody's using it.
Yeah.
People are using it. You might as well use it. Plus, it's a cognitive device. Let it be a resource and a tool, and not just using it to
Write
get
your
the job
essay.
done.
Yeah.
Use it for your advantage, because at the end of the day, it's your life that was matter at the end of the day.
Right.
Yeah, it's your assistant, like your secretary. Or something.
Yes.
You sabotage yourself. You have like the whole. Let's say, for example, you're in high school. You have an AI write all your essays. So it's time to like really perform on a test, like the free response question, for example. You got to really write your essay. So now we're going to see, can you really write? And you've been cheating this whole time.
Right.
You're sabotaging yourself.
I get it.
Well, what's funny though, because I was thinking about it. I've heard some crazy stories about like how teachers are not actually teaching, and that's why they went to the stuff like photo math. Please don't block it. So photo math and stuff. And it's like this one person, they don't usually go and go out and actually just ask the teacher for help, because it's kind of shy, right? But this time they really need the help, so they went ahead and try to ask them. And when they asked them the questions, they actually did better than they thought they would when in asking the question. They told them what they had an issue with, and they needed help with solving it. The teacher just smiled at them the whole time and said, "Oh, well,
what an interesting perspective that I did not look at. Thank you for that.
Yeah, some teachers, like with AI, it's a gift and a curse. So you'll realize, like she said, it's both sides. So it's not just students using it, it's teachers using it. And it's not just teachers using it, it's probably the administration using it and the higher ups. So you got to realize both sides are using it. So if the teacher's using it and doesn't actually know the information, and then a kid goes up to the teacher and is like, yo, I need some help. I don't know how to solve this problem. And the teacher's like, well, I don't know either. What we gonna do?
Use AI together.
Right. So I mean, it's tough.
An interesting perspective, because we've all had those teachers.
Yes.
we have
That could not give it. They could not teach us
At all.
Like I could, no matter how they put it, I wasn't.
I just couldn't learn it from you.
And then to now have the gumption and say I still got to be able to pass my ACT, and I have to know this, and I'm gonna ask photo math.
Yeah. When AI will help you so much. It will help you so much. It's like your best friend.
But app that's underrated.
Okay.
Always forget about is Quizlet. Y'all heard of Quizlet?
I mean, Quizlet is what? That's different people.
Charge you now though.
Okay, I know it's charged, but back in my day,
Check and stuff.
2015 and 2018 in high school, it was free. It was so helpful in like learning your material pretty
Yeah.
fast. you know, like flashcards, audio report. It was helpful. I still use it. I'm not
Yeah.
paying $2.99 a month, but
Oh my.
it's worth it.
Nah, I feel it. I mean,
figure it
you
out.
gotta use what you gotta do. You gotta do it. If that's paying, I know some people who will pay the $10 a month or the $20 a month to use AI services to their best of their ability.
Yeah,
But
Flashcards on the go.
yeah,
Get in line and just study and be prepared, and it tracks your progress too.
okay.
Hey,
I've tried Quizlet
You
though.
like it?
Yeah, I mean, I like it. It's just the $10 fee that's gonna get me. So that fee, like you get, I think you get like 10, 15 cards, 10, 15 flashcards, and then it's like, hey, $5. Then it's like, okay, $5. Okay, no $5. I'm skipping that. And then it's like you get like 5 more cards, and it's like, it's no longer free. $10 subscription. I'm like, okay, I don't want to use it no more.
You know what's funny?
So
about that, though?
it's not my friend.
I literally just went down and clicked flashcards and it gave me all because it was like 100 flashcards. I just went down and clicked flashcards. It gave me all 100 for free. So I mean, as long I just asked the right questions, maybe take me a little 2-3 more minutes. So I'm getting as much as you are for 10 a month.
Yeah.
So you getting scammed, honestly.
I'm not paying $10 a month.
What was it?
I'm paying $2.99 a month.
Okay.
Like
But yeah.
this is Quizlet Plus. Okay?
Yeah.
You got the multiple choice question. You got the flashcards.
Got you.
It's not gonna be that.
No, but when it started popping up the ads and it was like $5 a month, I was like, okay, I'm gonna skip it. I was like, I can skip the first one because it had the option. It said pay it, and then in a little print bold letters it said skip it. Like it was so small you couldn't see if you didn't look for it. So I pressed skip, and then I got like 5 more flashcards. And then the next one was like $10 subscription to continue. I was like, yeah, I'm closing it. So I closed the website. And I ain't visited since. So you ain't getting me for $10. Well, let's hop into our last question for our remaining time. This is a little bit different than focusing on education, but I think it plays an important part to it. How can participating in extracurricular activities positively or negatively affect academic performance?
That is so good for our mental health to get out and move around. Moving is everything. So if you want to do sports to help you be more engaged in school, by all means do it, because trying to be in that same space over and over again, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
I didn't end up doing cheer. I was like, all them AP classes was kicking my butt. So I'm like, I need something fun to get my energy up and jump around. And cheer did just that. And I needed it. And it really helped me obtain my goals for that school year, especially in high school.
I had to find different extracurricular activities because I did sports in 10th grade. I did basketball. I did pretty good, but then
He did.
I actually did pretty good. I won most improved in my 10th grade year. See, that means that shows dedication. That shows dedication. You know, that shows that I was not that great at the start, but over time I put the work in and I got pretty good. So most improved, but I got injured and that's when I quit. So I had to find something else. So I had tore my calf muscle and I was like, okay, I'm in a boot for I think it was like 6-8 months. I was like, I gotta find something else to do.
That's funny.
So I went around school. They was calling me Boot Man, Captain Hook. I was like, okay, I'm in a boot. Like, let me live. I literally got hurt. Like my calf muscle was torn. You gonna call me Boot Man, Captain Hook? Like, come on, this is not funny right now. I'm injured. So I'm walking around school. I'm like, I gotta find something else to do. I've always done public speaking and mentoring. So I fell in love with actual like mentoring kids, and that was like. Then I fell in love with getting out there in the community because I was like, there's much more than just mentoring in school. So there's got to be more. So I started connecting with people different in the community and I built some amazing connections. And then I fell in love with community service and just everything that I do now because it's like, this is something fun. I get away. I get to have fun. I get to talk to people. I love having conversations. My mom says I don't like to shut up. So I love talking to people. So I'm like, you know,
Don't ever shut up.
I get to do it. I get to do what I love for fun, and it's amazing. So
Don't ever shut up because that people say that have said that to me. I've actually did a Facebook post under it because I was speaking at some conference and I'm still talking, and people were like, "Don't stop talking." But it is a gift that helped you.
yes,
I know your story, and so what happens is that when we don't individualize the education, and the education for me is not just math, science, and blah blah.
yeah,
Right? Like it's all of that, right? Because you were able to find your passion, it improved your academics, right?
yeah,
But it also improved your outlook on who you are,
Yeah,
And
definitely.
that's really half the battle. And so we know the people who have gone through this world. I've took biology twice.
Same.
I took it in high school. I took it in college.
Oh,
Oh,
And
no.
out of all of that sweat, blood, and tears, I still only know that the mitochondria was the powerhouse. That's it. I don't know anything else.
Oh. I
Thank
took
you for
geology
repeating.
twice. I took geology in high school in ninth grade. I had to admit he was a great teacher in ninth grade. Like he taught it all well. All I know is it's a rock. Geology is rocks. So that's all I know. And then we took it again in college. Oh my God, I hated geology in college. I was about to fail. Like we're all dual enrolled, so it's our first year there. So we got geology, and It's like our
first year course.
I think it's like our fourth class. It's our fourth class. So we're in there taking geology. All of us have 70s for our midterm grade. So we're like, how can we do better? So we're like, we got to get our grades up because we cannot have 70s for our midterm grades. All of us were stressing and struggling on how we going to get our grades up. Yeah, we had 70. Right. Oh, God. Oh, God. So I had a 70.
I was like, yes.
I had a 70, and I was like, "Hey, I'm finna pass with a C. I'm finna pass with a C." But thankfully, we was able to find somebody who had taken the class before us, so they was able to help us study, get the quizzes and the notes and stuff we needed. So ultimately, we all ended up passing with B's and A's. I was like, I ain't passed with a C.
Oh, you did?
Mediocrity didn't kill me this time. I passed with a B and A.
Good job, man. You lucky, man.
How was your experience?
You see, we had it bad.
That information is closed for now.
Right.
It was
My
bad.
best friend also had the same experience. We both got our SAT scores at the same time. He lived 2 houses down from me. We grew up since kindergarten.
Nice.
And we looked at those scores. And let me just say this. My mother said, don't they give you 400 for writing your name?
Yes.
And so to this day, nobody knows those scores. But even him made the same exact score. And then we would have not gotten into GTCC with that score. And my mom and their mom, we were in SAT prep for like the whole entire senior year to just bring it enough to so Auntie would say yes.
Okay, so isn't the top score is like 1,600, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And then 400 for your name.
Yes.
I want to say, I feel like you guys probably got in the 400 to 700 range.
I'm not with it to this day. That has not been disclosed. But it is still that embarrassing, that first score that I got. But extracurricular activities, what my point was is this. There are a lot of things that you're going to learn. And we all, once we get out in the world, know that most of the things that you learn in high school and college, you will never, ever use for anything. Yeah. So these are skills that we are learning, right? And so the more rounded you are, so I can run you for office, which I fully plan to do.
Yes, that is the goal.
And so that is valuable. We have to do the game so we can get in college.
Yes.
So we can get the piece of paper to do what we said we're going to do. But the job that I do as a lobbyist, I didn't even know existed when I was 17. I never knew what a lobbyist was. Yeah. And so, but it was skills. It was my extracurricular. It was my passion. It wasn't sports, even though I was a tennis player, but it was me knocking on doors with my Uncle Lewis and getting engaged and never meeting a stranger that allowed me to be like, okay, I'm going to work on campaigns. And I didn't know how to do that. And then I ran a campaign, a presidential campaign. I didn't know how to do that. Okay. And then then I ran a campaign of my own campaign. Got elected. Went to the wrong building in Raleigh. By the way, the Capitol is not the one with the dome. And so anybody went totally went there. Like, I'm here. I have a first meeting with the Black Caucus. They were like, yeah, this is not the Capitol. And I was like, okay. So but it was all of the other stuff.
Yeah.
That really prepared me for all of the things that I was able to do in my career, and all of the things that I did academically gave me the access.
Yeah.
But it was the extracurricular that gave me who I am, as much as what you're finding out right now. Who you are.
It's that expression.
Definitely. So I'm gonna say a few things to end the show off. My teachers hated my high school teachers hated me when I was in high school. Now that I don't attend high school, hopefully they don't hate me as much because I do this. But when I was in high school, every time we was in class, Jonathan can attest, they would always try to teach us something, and I will always be the student. How am I going to use this in the real world? They hated me because every day it was every day, like every day on a consistent basis. I was like, how am I going to use this? And they never had an answer, so they all hated me because I will always be like, if I'm not going to use this, I don't want to learn it. So I'm always like, I'm not going to use this. So why are you teaching this? Why are we going in an hour long class for you to tell me something I'll forget in 30 minutes and it's not important? So they will always hate me. And then I'm going to say this for all the young people out there, your credit hours are important. Please stop neglecting them. You need them to graduate. You need 30 of them to graduate. Only 30, but the more you have, the better it looks on college applications. Like colleges love to see a student who is more than just academics. If you are just academics, they're just going to be like, okay, he's smart. But what else can he do? I've learned that colleges like to look at your passions and how can you turn your passions into a project, and a project that you was able to effectively organize and finish. Not just, oh, he's able to get an A in math. Anybody can get an A in math if you apply yourself. But how are you able to take your passion and turn it into a project, or turn your dream into a reality? How are you able to maneuver those things? They don't like to just see A's and B's, and they like to see how are you doing stuff outside of school. So when you said extracurricular activities, kids, make sure you get out there and do extracurricular stuff. Get out there, do sports, community service, talk to the person down the street who has an organization. Get involved with these different things so that way you can find who you are. That way you can be better prepared for your future.
And the volunteer hours.
Yeah, the volunteer hours definitely are a good thing, though. You need 30, and you only need 30, thankfully. But I know a lot of kids who don't even have 30. So you need 30 to graduate. You cannot ignore the 30 hours.
They
But
want the college. They want kids that they know are going to make a difference at their college.
yeah,
Not just some kids that's going to go in there, pass the classes, and get out. They want
Yeah.
Because they understand life process.
Yeah.
Even though you think that you know, and you think that you know.
Mhm.
And like I thought I knew. I was going to be a school counselor. I had my plan. Blah, blah, blah. And there is a reason, and she can tell you through her experience that most of the students that she went to college with, they graduated and they're not working in anything that they graduated in. Because what your eyes see is what you're interested in. But you're ready to your audience, to the kids, you're ready to see so much more. And you're going to have the greatest experiences of your life, and you're going to have the most excruciating experiences of your life, and it's going to shape who you are. But right now, these extracurricular activities and the things that you do is going to give you the skills to be able to adapt to whatever it is that you
definitely.
eventually decide that you're going to want to do. Right? I thought I wanted to be a school counselor until my eyes saw policy, and then I said, you know what? I really want to deal with the policy side of it. And I became a lobbyist, but at 16, 17, I didn't know what a lobbyist was.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
So how could I?
I actually did learn about that.
I don't know what that
I
is.
feel like school's supposed
I'm gonna
to
get in
draw you
there.
to your purpose. I
Yes.
think so many kids get burnt out from doing elementary, middle school, and high school, and like, well, I'm not going to college. I've
Yeah.
been in school all my life. But I think it gets really interesting in college. I've learned so much
Yes,
about
way
myself
better in
as a
college.
grad
Oh my
student,
gosh.
especially as grad school. It's personal. It's for you. That's why I'm getting my PhD, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I said college was a scam for like 2 years. I just now decided I'm going to college. Whenever me and my mom talked about what's your goals in the future, I was like, it ain't college. College is a scam. Until recently. So to end it off, I'm gonna say, kids, education is much more than what you learn in school. Education is a lifelong journey, and you truly never stop learning. Every day through life, you're always learning different things, different techniques, different opportunities, different goals, different dreams. Like, there's so much out there, like Mr. Marcus said, that what your eyes see will change because you'll see so many different things. So education is a lifelong journey, and it's not just what you learn in the books. It's not what your teacher tells you. It's not what your parent tells you. It's what you go out there and live. So,
And
and live and see. So
you're not alone either.
Oh,
No.
you're not alone. There's so many adults out here still figuring out life. I thought adults had it figured out.
Oh, no.
I looked up to them like, yeah, they got it figured out. They done lived life. They got all the money. They got the time. They can do whatever they want. And then as you get older, you realize you really don't have it much figured out. You still figuring it out as you go. So to end off our 6th episode of Youthful Conversations, I want to thank you guys for being on the show. Thank you guys for educating me on education because, again, I'm not that, I'm just now transitioning from a media. I'm just now transferring from a mediocrity student to now A and B student. So I want to thank you guys for being on the show. This was an amazing conversation. And this was the 6th episode of Youthful Conversations. I want to shout out my production team. I want to shout out GSO Peace Corps for providing the building and the place to record this platform and podcast. And we will see you all next week officially. I'm back for good. I got no more trips. So we're good. We're consistent. And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you guys for tuning in.
Thank you.